Given that Velocity 2X is a game that's all about speed, let's get straight to the point. This game is bloody marvellous. It's published by Futurelabs and developed in-house, and it retains and refines the elements that made the first Velocity game a success, but it ups the ante even more when it comes to polish and presentation. Production values are patently higher, Velocity 2X, and not only far better than its predecessor in a visual sense, but also it has a fantastic soundtrack. More importantly though, Velocity 2X is a game that proves that Futurelabs didn't run out of ideas the first time round. For the benefit of anyone who doesn't know what Velocity 2X is, Velocity 2X is a vertical scrolling shooter, where the focus is on getting from start to finish as quickly as you possibly can, along the way picking up survivor pods and collectibles like codex pieces. There's a brilliant teleport mechanic that provides a unique hook about 10 minutes into the game, and it requires the player to swiftly dart around the stage to collect survivor pods and rack up that perfect score, or simply to avoid wrecking your ship at a dead end. Mastering this process of speed and teleportation whilst rushing through the stages at breakneck speed can be demanding at first, and you're going to feel that it's maybe a wee bit too difficult for you. But the difficulty curve is absolutely perfect in my opinion, and the game feels slick and responsive, so it makes any deaths that happen feel fair, and it isn't usually that frustrating when you die. One thing that isn't so strong perhaps is the story. The game sensibly avoids shoving the narrative down your throat, and the stages are broken up with comic book style storyboards, but what you end up with is a story that's so throwaway anyway that it may as well not be there really. As you move in Velocity 2X's middle stages, you'll likely not have mastered every element of the game yet, but you will notice that you've been introduced rather gradually to a whole raft of new techniques and mechanics, and you'll never feel baffled or overwhelmed by these. The game is perfect at its pacing, and this is probably its strongest point, introducing new ideas at a rate that not only allow you to comfortably feel as though you can learn them and integrate the skills into your moveset, but it keeps the game feeling fresh, and all best games have new ideas that constantly come up, and I think this is an extremely strong point of Velocity 2X. Even when all the base elements have been established, level design gradually demands more from the player, and it asks them to use the game's multiple mechanics, and it keeps things interesting more than anything. Speaking of new mechanics in this game, you've probably been watching this review saying, don't see a lot of vertical shooting there. There's a lot of side-scrolling platforming as well, and this is one of Velocity 2X's biggest new addition. The portion of the game that includes the 2D platforming, they weren't present at all in the predecessor. And despite the difference between the game's flying and platforming sections, it's really a credit to Futurelabs that the latter feels much like an extension of the core Velocity experience, and gels really well with the vertical shooting parts, rather than just a disjointed element. Indeed, anyway, the platforming sections riff on the same components present in the piloting sections, ensuring that switching between the two feels completely natural, and in some levels you'll find yourself swapping between both shooting and flying and platforming sections. And in fact, the platforming sections are so well integrated that they now feel as though they're a vital part of the formula, and I don't know how we managed without them before, to be honest. Something that a lot of modern games fail to do is provide variety without losing the core meaning to a game, or the identity of the game in some cases. But perhaps Velocity 2's greatest strength is the fact that it has managed to do just this, merge different elements into gameplay and make them feel natural. One minute you'll be engaged in an intense boss battle that takes you into space and fighting massive on-screen bosses, and it takes its cue really from these bullet hell shooters like Ikaruga and R-Type. In the next minute you'll be taking part in what is essentially a fast-paced puzzle platforming section of sorts, Yet it's actually this apparent disparity of gameplay styles that ends up being fantastic, and it's an indication that this game is not a confused mess and is actually a perfectly thought out piece of software from Futurelab. And it's an extremely focused, exhilarating, and one of the most interesting and rewarding shooters I've played on consoles in a long time. The fact that it's free on PSN this month is only a bonus, and I really couldn't stress enough that if you've got a PS4 and PlayStation Plus, then you have to at least try this game. So now I want to know that if you have tried this game, then what did you think of it? Did you think it was fresh, new idea from Futurelabs and the 2D platforming? Had you played the initial one, or have you never heard of this game and now you're thinking about picking it up? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching.